welcome to the Art of Faith. I'm Pastor Joshua Kapczynski and my co-host Joel Fairley.
Yes.
And today we have a very special guest artist, local artist, Edan Curtis. And we're going to be talking about her expression of art, and specifically from the perspective of a faith-based artist. And so we're really excited about this show and about what Edan, as a local artist, can share about what she does and how faith interacts with her art. So to get it started, Edan, welcome. Welcome
Thank you.
Joel and I's show.
Thank
It's good to have you with us.
It's a pleasure.
Yay.
Anytime I could talk about art,
You're
I love
excited?
to talk about art. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
excited? For those of you that are listening and not watching, and for everyone else too, you can see her work at Edan Curtis Arts on Instagram, and she's fascinating. So she's got this whimsical. I'm just gonna go ahead and define what I think that
Sure.
you do. It's like an Art Nouveau, Art Deco, but very classical at the same time, and lots of female figures, and lots of horses, and all kinds of very exciting things.
And it's Edan
Edan
Curtis Arts. Just because
Curtis
Curtis.
Arts on Instagram. And,
Thank you.
And not only is she an incredible graphic artist, probably not graphic artist, but
What is your medium?
yeah,
Oh,
mixed medium.
anything, mixed medium. Yeah,
mixed media.
watercolor,
Okay.
oil, and
Okay.
acrylic.
Yeah.
And she's also an accomplished tattoo artist, and that's exciting stuff. So there's a little
Yeah.
bit of both, and we'll be talking about both the traditional art mediums and your new art medium of being a tattoo artist,
Yeah.
which you're probably making more money at, or
Yeah.
will be making more
It's
money
working
at. It's
art.
working art.
It's work-
That's that's what we all should probably be thinking about
Hard
talking
to
about.
find.
Yeah.
So, I'm really interested in your faith journey. I know Joel is too.
Yeah,
So, Joel, why
absolutely.
don't you ask some of these questions that artists asks of one another?
So, I first of all would love to hear about how you got to the place where you recognize yourself as a follower of Jesus, and he became. Just if you could just kind of share with us some of those highlights of how that happened.
Okay, yeah. Long story, but to make it short, it was through experiences. I'm a strong believer that God believes in free will. So, part of what he loves about us is that he wants us to live our experience whatever we desire. So part of opening yourself to him is wanting him to be in your life. And there was a time where I just kind of said, okay, well, if you're real, show yourself to me, because I was kind of doubting him.
Okay.
A spiritual person, religious, not spiritual. That's probably the most common thing that you'll hear from people. They're religious, not spiritual. That was me, very spiritual, but I kind of wanted to just see him. And I had an experience which would take hours to explain. But in requesting to see his face, and my time, I used to like to go up to the river on Sundays and just hike with my daughter. And there were some people being baptized, and I got baptized that day without even planning it.
Is that right?
Yeah, on the day that I had asked, God to show himself. And my daughter was there, and my cousin's daughter was there. And it was strange because I didn't really know what I was doing, because they were Spanish, and my Spanish is limited. And the word baptism, was one word I didn't know. I only knew that they said that I was doing in some act of faith. So till I went home, I didn't realize I just got baptized. And that was, needless to say, like, pretty crazy experience. And then
Wow.
it wasn't till years later that I went to church, and kind of was made a joke like, "Oh, I'll probably burn when I walk through."
Yeah. Boy, if
That's
I had a
that's
dollar
Joel.
for every time I heard that.
And I think we had talked about this earlier. Was I just didn't. I had lost a lot of faith in church from being judged when I was a child,
Yes.
and they kind of chased me out of church. And this church was very welcoming, um, and open, and just I didn't feel that judgment and learned a lot. So that was the beginning.
Yeah.
And that being said, like any person, kind of on the artist on the fringe, where
Hmm.
I was a little hesitant to tell my friends at first because they
That
have
you
that,
were a follower of Jesus.
yeah,
Yeah.
they have that typical view that you're going to judge them. And I'm the same person I was then. I was just slowly being healed
Mm.
and slowly having these
That's
layers
that's
peeled off of me.
that's such an interesting that they're afraid you're going to judge them. And I don't know, Josh, if you've experienced this, but I experienced pastor when I'm just me, and then they find out what I do. Me and your pastor,
Yeah.
you're so real.
Yeah,
Do you get that?
I do get that. Yeah.
Just how real
Yeah.
we are, and it's one of my favorite
Yeah,
compliments
Yeah.
that I receive as a pastor.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm sorry that you were in that judgment, but I get it.
Yeah,
I get
and
it.
yeah, and now I don't really care. But at the time I did.
Uh-huh.
And Claremont in itself is a real secular environment, and there's a lot of just intellect over any kind of spirituality. So I just kept it to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I knew when to share, and I knew when to not share. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was the beginning.
Okay. You and I became aware of you when both of you and I attended at the same time a prayer service where we were there just waiting on the Lord and hearing from Him and worshiping and I sat behind you several times and both of us were invited to paint
Yeah.
prophetically
Uh-huh.
and do some prophetic work.
Yeah.
And it was lovely, and that's when I discovered just how really amazingly good you are. And she's amazingly good. We're gonna show talk about some things, but one of the things that I love about Eden, and I had the opportunity to curate a show that she was in, that we had her do at Sanctuary Coffee at the old building, and she's so unassuming about her work, and I'm just sitting here. This is absolutely amazing. Anyway, and so I came to know and appreciate you have a distinctive, wonderful style. The question I have for you is when did you decide and give yourself permission to call yourself an artist?
Um,
Do you know how old you were?
Probably in my 30s.
Okay.
Uh,
You mean like yesterday?
no,
You're not in your 30s?
over a decade ago. I'm in my 40s, and I had just kind of gotten fired from a job 2009. I was a broker, and a lot of people got fired or laid off, I
Right.
should say. So I was like, why is this happening? And then I started to realize maybe I should be thankful because it opened up a door for me to paint.
That's
So
good.
I started painting again. And I think every time I was grateful and expressed it, it's like I had another door open for me. And so I started painting, and I hadn't painted since I was a teenager because you don't have the time when you're working. And
Yeah.
so I started painting, and then I dedicated myself fully to it. And like I guess to be an artist, um, I've heard it said you should not call yourself an artist. Other people will call you an artist. Well, if you're involved with art and it's your life,
Mm-hmm.
you, I guess, inevitably become an artist. But I, I, I could say that after I started to become more faithful, I wanted to lose my identity as just being an artist. So I was a little intimidated to even introduce my faith to the art world because, well, needless to say, there's a lot of judgment. The art world,
We call it pretentious.
pretentious, right? And so after a couple years, I realized that I wasn't going to lose my freedom. I wasn't going to lose my my joy. It was just different. So I can still express myself through emotion and
Mm-hmm.
artistic expression,
Mm-hmm.
beauty, whatever artists do. But I could also take a moment to just go, okay, I'm going to dedicate this piece to something for God. And I'm still wouldn't consider myself just a faith-based artist, but I have works that are faith-based,
Mm-hmm.
based on the fruits of the Spirit, the
Mm-hmm.
Holy Spirit. And
Wow.
even before um, following Christ, I was painting angels, always, interested in spirituality.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the major difference between being an artist and then either doing faith-based art or being a faith-based artist? What's the distinction
Well,
for
oh,
you?
I would say personally, I think that you, if you're going to create art, um, you're usually doing that off of emotions or expression or individuality. You're making a statement, and today's statements are have become, some of them are amazing, but I think recently it's become wrapped up in like narcissism and
Yeah.
celebrity and
Politics or
politics, and it's
Are you
become
selling?
boring to
yeah,
me.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have artists like parading around Basquiat paintings, but they don't have a creative bone in their body. Celebrities, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
and claiming off of these artists, and you know, so there's an artist that I brought up to you, Scott Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, in the future, you can have him on a podcast. And he's a faith-based artist more so than myself, and you know, I did go to a class that he taught and just on expressing yourself, and it was great. Releasing some of your emotional problems before you do that piece, maybe that you want to express for God, because the piece should bring up questions to secular world and believer alike. It should be like a statement, but to me, maybe bring up questions or be such a piece of praise and worship that you go, oh, you know. And there was only 3 pieces I've done where I did that, but it was just remarkable doing it because I felt really like it was almost not. I don't want to say a ritual, but just really a great time that I had doing an art. More so than I'm just like, oh, I want to do this because I'm feeling this way.
Have you experienced where you've actually felt as you are painting and as you are producing a piece of art that you find yourself worshiping the Lord as you are painting and through the painting?
Yeah, I think the only one that I did, and you'll probably show it at the end, was the one Circa Divina, and that was like I just cannot explain when I was painting some of the things that was happening and the experience, and I would sound crazy if I tried to say what I was
Yeah,
seeing
yeah.
when I was painting it. I did one on self-control when I first was going to church, and that was probably more emotional.
Uh-huh.
I had to learn like to really maybe clear yourself. Even secular artists do this before painting. Is you're going to journal or meditate or do something to release yourself before you do art,
Uh-huh.
because you're more free, less troubled. And even though art is any form of creativity is really freeing and healing, it helps. But I hadn't learned that yet, so I wasn't. It was just a painting.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't having any kind of like nice experience.
It's really amazing when you reach a point where we've talked often here that God intervenes in all art and to bring a creative thing. But I experienced this when I was painting. I wanted to paint a lion head, and so I was painting a lion head, and I just having a great time. It was late at night, and I was in my mom's garage because we were living with her at the time, and that's where my studio was. And I remember painting it, and then I wanted to taste it, meaning step out
Yeah.
and see what I got. Like a chef tastes everything.
Oh, yeah.
You got to step back and see what you got. And I remember stepping back, and I was surprised at what I saw. And I immediately took it off the easel, and I went to where my mom was sitting in the family room, and I said, I'm 60. I'm in my 60s. And I went in there and I said, Mom, look what God let me paint. And I was just blown away by it. And it was a fantastic worship experience for me. Yeah. Now, I painted better lions since that, but that was an experience that I remember where God really just kind of just being there with me and showing. And in one sense it was, I had a prophetic word spoken over me by my daughter. I asked her, what is God? Because when I was struggling with art, I wanted to do art when I was struggling with it. And I said, Becca, I want to know what God thinks. What God thinks about me doing art and being an artist. And she said, came back later and she says, God wants you to know that He is adored when you paint, that you are worshiping.
Wow.
And He is delighted that you paint and with Him.
That's awesome.
And it was awesome.
Yeah.
And I pray that for everyone who is an artist and follows Jesus and loves Jesus. I pray that they all would know.
There's such a powerful partnership with the Holy Spirit between the artist.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And
you're
God,
using your talent.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I got to, and like, there's going to be some fawning, like I already told you today, over your work. And so when we look at it, and I hopefully, not only will the people who watch this and listen to this podcast, will they not only be blessed by what they see, but that you will be blessed. Yeah. And maybe God will reveal to you today even more of Himself that you didn't know, and His appreciation and His love.
Well, thank you.
Well, get ready for that.
Let's look at her work.
Let's look at some work.
All right.
Now
Can I explain it, and then because we need to talk about what we're seeing, because some of you, again, I want to encourage you to go to the YouTube page. You can see that in the notes. But this is a great piece. Oh, classic. It looks like 1940s Hollywood, black and white.
Oh, who does?
Someone.
Is it somebody famous?
It probably is, because I'll take vintage models.
A little bit of a young Greer Garson.
Possibly.
Yeah. So it's a sepia or black and white portrait, and then her dress is full color, and there's a doorway or archway into the night sky, and there's keyholes, and there's clouds, and it's all a part of who she is. And I mean, looking at it, it's very, very deep. Your eye, although the portrait's fascinating in and of itself, but your eye is drawn through the gateway into the night sky into, I don't know, eternity. Maybe you should explain it because it's
Yeah, because
incredible.
and I'm also intrigued by the keyholes that seem to be randomly placed.
Yeah, and then okay, well, I got ridiculed for this, but sacred geometry,
Uh-huh.
you know, is pi, I
Yep,
believe.
yep, yep.
And so, if I fit the pi right onto there, and great works of art compositionally have that symmetry to them,
Yeah.
and so those keyholes did round it,
Oh, wow.
and it kind of pulls away from the face. You look at it and then you go back, but it was more like Heaven's Gate, you know, but and the picture is dark. The painting's a lot lighter, so I didn't get a good picture of it, but the foreground is a lot more like a sunset,
Yeah.
a bright sunset, and then
Your clouds in your sky are reminiscent of my one of my favorite artists that we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah,
It reminds me of an N.C. Wyeth sky,
Sure.
and
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's just the whole classical feel to it is very good. And
And what she said about the whole sacred geometry thing and then pi. So like you're looking at a piece of work, but what you don't see is that there's math in it, in the way that it's laid out. The sacred geometry is what you see in nature with seashells and galaxies. The swirl. It's the perfect, snail shell,
sunflower, even the
sunflowers.
human body.
The human body is full of sacred geometry. It's just how God made us. The Vitruvian man is another example of sacred geometry, and I didn't know it. But the thing is, you don't know that you're looking at it, but you know that there's something right about the work.
Pleasing to the eye.
It's pleasing to the eye.
Yeah.
The Last Supper is made like that,
Yeah.
like you're painting downstairs. Michelangelo's Mona Lisa,
Yeah.
and if you think about, if we're created in the image of the Creator,
Yes.
we're meant to be creative, and so we're meant to
No arguments here,
understand it.
sister.
Yeah, we're meant to not only understand it, but create from there. It's amazing that we could
Well,
know these things.
I actually wrote about this in my last newsletter article about sacred geometry and pi.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
oh wow.
Yeah, and the
And let me just say, of course,
of course
you
I
did.
did. It was weird. It probably, I mean, it was different. But
Josh is my egghead friend.
I should not. Okay, let's
That's a
continue. Let's go to
compliment.
the next piece.
Okay.
Let's
Okay,
go to the
let's
next
go to
piece.
another piece.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
she's a tattoo artist as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, this is good. So we're introducing you to,
Yeah.
Her working art.
yeah.
Yeah, only the first year of professional tattooing, but I've been tattooing for 3 years, tattooing professionally for a year. And this was on my daughter, so of course I was very dedicated to being perfect. And
Oh, it's lovely.
yeah, and then we did that in 3 pieces.
When you say you've done it in, you mean 3 sessions?
3 sessions.
Okay.
Just, it's quite large. And so she is asking me for years to tattoo her. And of course, I don't want to tattoo my daughter till I'm feel
What-
skilled enough.
Oh wow.
But
What is that? What would one session constitute?
we did probably 3 3-hour sessions on this, but it was very, very casual
Okay.
because it was me and her. Usually when I'm I don't take breaks so much unless the client wants to take breaks, but it was really, really fun. And it turned out great. She loves it. A tea rose, a couple roses, exactly what she wanted. She wanted a bee. And quite honestly, I did the bee and I thought it looked like a bug on her leg, and I didn't like that.
Oh,
With
okay.
my beautiful daughter.
Yeah, and I'm hesitant about tattoos because from a distance, they look like bruises.
Right.
It's
If it's not done right.
If it's not right, it's like, oh, he's got a hurt. Oh, that's a tattoo.
Yeah, poor thing, the bruise, but it's like, it has to be readable from afar.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
also
it's
wanted it to
lovely.
be delicate. Thank
How'd
you.
she handle the pain?
She doesn't even budge. I've had guys that just like, she's like nothing.
And,
Wow.
She's very strong.
and you work in a studio with all female tattoo artists?
Yeah, the artists
That's
at my
really cool.
shop are mostly from Shanghai, and they're all females, and I was kind of drawn to that. That's why I'm working
Yeah.
there now.
Wow.
I'm taking a little break, and going back in a month or two to the shop. Yeah.
That's great. All right, let's see the next one.
I love
Oh my
this.
gosh. Okay, so this is she tattooed an eyeball on somebody.
Now, is this a
with
client or
Corinthian-
somebody asked for something like
This
this?
is one of my very close friends. It's my mom's best friend's husband, who I've done 12 tattoos on so far.
Okay.
And he was kind of like my guinea pig.
Nice.
Okay.
And so this one was like, I just was always showing him pictures, ideas, and he goes, I like the eye. And
Where is this located?
that's on his arm here.
Okay.
It took 2 hours. I'm really quick.
I love the filigree.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I love filigree too. We're still working on it. We're going to do more shading, but that
Okay.
was, he came out, we were doing multiple pieces in one day.
Yeah.
So I couldn't take much more time to shade it, but I loved the way it turned out.
Oh, I think it's brilliant, and I love eyes anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I like to paint eyes, and have painted eyes.
Cool. I like the reflectiveness and the
Yeah.
pupil.
Okay. Oh, yeah. The glare and the
That's the
reflection in the
detail that-
eyes. That's what sells it, and it's
Yeah.
just and you did a fantastic
Yeah,
job.
it's fairly small. I mean, it's not
Yeah,
too
it's
big.
so it's like
Like this.
oh,
probably.
okay, okay. Oh, all right. Yeah, that'll fit on not my arm. Mine's a little wimpy stick arm.
Let's go to the next one.
Let's see.
Okay, I love this one. Okay, so this is like a 1920s
Yeah.
flapper.
Right.
Again, it's a black and white portrait, but her clothes are full color, and this is
It's yeah. It's
full spectrum color on her dress. Can you tell us about this and what it means?
Yeah.
and-
So yeah, thank you for talking about this. I mean, it's fun, but like this one, I like the look. So this is probably more of just a piece I did for fun for myself, and it's called Heaven Within. And
Oh,
so
wow.
it's kind of like a little like paradise, you know. You have a couple and the birds, and they're coupled to a sunset, and then like a woman who, I don't know, maybe divine, mystical looking, you know.
Yeah.
And so
the thing that I appreciate about your work and about is that I think you're just phenomenal and effortless at painting the feminine subject.
Yeah, I agree.
You're really quite wonderful at it. And the thing I like about it is it's relatable. They are relatable in the sense that they're not necessarily idealized,
Yeah.
what we would think in society to be an idealized woman. But she's beautiful.
it's still beautiful, but it's not seductive.
Yeah.
no,
you
no,
know,
that's a great word.
like
It's not seductive.
A man or like, and I have tons
I'd
of
date her.
amazing, yeah, amazing comic book artists, and I, you know, great artists, but naturally, their art is seductive, idealistic. It's not real.
Yes.
And so, of course, I'm putting like beauty, natural beauty, and then kind of like my intention is to juxtapose some sort of like heaven and earth.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And, you know,
You also have the thing that I appreciate about it is your women, and if you could talk about it a little bit, you tend to. You're clearly a modern woman. You clearly live in the 21st century. We could tell that you do, but you're able to capture a classic style and beauty of women.
yeah, like
Talk to that.
okay. So I think I did this one was like Heaven's Gate, and then I put as above, so below. And
As a what?
As above, so below.
Okay.
And then I put Man has two eyes. It's a quote. I forget who it anonymous.
Uh-huh.
Man has two eyes, one to see what is fleeting in time, one to see what is eternal and divine. Uh, you know,
Wow.
and I almost make the women as a backdrop, uh, part of the scenery, and the scenery as the focal point.
Okay, so when you add color something, you're telling your audience, your observer, look
This
at
is-
this.
this is-
Pay
That's
attention to this.
the heaven,
Uh-huh.
and the backdrop is the so below, as above, so below. So
Okay.
you
So
know,
the women are the so
So
below.
yeah,
Okay.
we're human on the earth, and you know, and we're
Your your humanity is vision of humanity is wonderful. So below.
yeah,
I mean,
and that's all. I try to do that in all of them, even before I. Sorry, I'm
That's all
making noise. Even before I was focusing more on divinity.
yeah. It's yeah. I there to me, and I don't know about you, Josh, or anybody else, but to my knowledge, I don't know anybody who does this.
No, I don't either. And
I'm not aware of anybody who does this. This is
No.
uniquely Eden Curtis.
Well, thank you.
for sure.
Yeah.
There's some people that have been playing around with black and white photos and incorporating color or laying a filter on top of it, but nothing like this.
But it's real. I mean, it's just gosh, it's so arresting.
All right, let's look at the next one.
Let's see more.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Oh yeah, this is one abandoned, and we were talking about to have a piece of art that is maybe kind of dark, and not necessarily can't have some expression towards the creator, because this one was on abandon. So a lot of people have abandonment issues or issues with multiple things. So in that one, there's just like an abandoned ship, but outside of her were what you would do if you healed from abandonment. Like
She's just
you kind of
beautiful.
healed. So that's and as I've as I've gotten older and lazier, I don't want to pull out oil paints. So that's why I do the medium of watercolor. It's really easy to just do when you're at home and
Okay.
not set up.
So you say.
Yeah.
Again, this is another beautiful portrait, but the clothes are in color with a ship.
That's
And-
it's ashore, right? The ship is ashore or docked?
The ship is abandoned.
Abandoned. Abandoned in the seas?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like just a wreck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know what abandonment happens to people, and they become incredibly broken.
Yeah.
But like you have also abandonment when you're free and you're fully abandoned to something.
Okay.
Uh,
Tell and speak, and also the feminine figure, again the face,
Yeah.
and then the garment with the abandoned boat with the colors sunset, sky, abandoned boat, and then you have these brilliant blue swallows,
Yeah.
two of them coming out from her, around her, starting at her head and neck.
Yeah.
Tell us about the swallows, because they are colored.
Yeah, and I almost might think that this is backwards, like if I was trying to have some style, but continuity to my work, but like this one here is the freedom is in the background. So like her healing, or so the word abandon could have two meanings of like you've been abandoned, and abandon can mean like you abandon yourself, like you completely let
you're-
go.
Okay.
So she's
You're set free.
So she's got
Wow.
the pain inside of her, but then on the outside you see the ships are sailing, they're free.
Yeah.
There's the swallows, which are like symbolistic of family. because they take care of their siblings on their second.
They also have the instinct to come home.
It's great.
They have lots of symbolism
Yeah.
in swallows.
Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's that one.
Okay. Cool.
All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, this is probably one of my favorites, and
It
and your
is his
bud's,
favorite.
because I like horses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
and I
more
liked
masculine.
it. Yeah, and I liked it when I saw it. And I like, I could read the unity, but then you explained that it's. Why don't you explain it to
Oh,
everybody?
yeah,
It's
and
a
then-
horse with
It's a,
color.
well, first
down-
of all, the horse is stunning,
yeah,
and the physicality of the horse is done very well. And
it's on wood, right?
Yeah, it's on a piece of a wood board, and it had a sticker on it, so I made it look like a stamp. It's the back of a painting. Because
okay.
it was during the pandemic, and as you know, during the pandemic, we were all full of a lot of fear. However, we were also too. I'm a server, and we're not at work,
Yeah.
so we had a lot of time. And then that was during the George Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
We see these horrible images of him being strangled.
Yes.
And so I made this piece, and it was two meanings. Was I don't know if you heard the four corners native. It's the four corners of the earth. There's red,
Okay.
yellow, brown, white.
Okay.
It's all the ethnicities.
Ethnicities.
And so you
Yeah.
have unify. It's pretty basic.
Black, red, yellow, white.
And in Hebrew, I'm not really. I forget what I said there.
I was going to ask.
One body.
One body.
And then
Man, that's neat.
and then you have the four horses.
Yeah.
And so I have the horses, the black horse, intellect, the white horse is the spirit, the yellow horse is the flesh, the red horse is emotion.
Yeah.
And so if you were to ask yourself, well, which horse do I want to ride in my life? The white horse, the spirit. And the reason why I did the black horse is because maybe in this era people are more concerned with the intellect than the spirit.
Well, in this town, I'm sure.
This
Yeah.
year.
Well, I mean, it's Eden. This is one of these that I think that represents who you are, represents your skill, and it should sell for a lot of money. I'm just saying. That's my opinion. I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
Because it is really a stunning piece of work. It really is, and I'm surprised at it. So.
Well, thank you.
Okay. So, yeah, more?
Yeah, let's keep going.
Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Oh,
So this is an angel, and she's kneeling. I'm not quite sure what she's doing. She's either praying or serving. But what's amazing about this angel are her wings, which are these peacock Art Nouveau, beautiful pink wings.
it's like you took the filigree design
Yeah.
and turned them into wings.
Oh, yeah. And I didn't know what filigree was. This is one of my pieces I did when I first started painting again.
Paisleys.
Oh, yeah.
They're like paisleys.
I had first started painting again, and I took a picture of my friend, and she was in the kind of like a silhouette.
Uh-huh.
And so I painted her. She has heels on, and it wasn't intended to be. People were like, "Oh, it's a fairy," but I really meant it to be an angel.
Yeah. I could see why people would think it's a fairy, but
I can see that too. But clearly, I'm arrested in this not only by the beauty of it. I'm arrested by the figure that is dark.
yeah.
And was it your intention to clearly from here where I'm viewing this, she is a person of color,
Yeah,
and that was your intention.
Yeah, she's um African American.
Okay.
She's my sister's best friend,
Uh-huh.
and I just love the picture. And she didn't like it. She was like, "You made my hair messed up." And I'm like,
Oh,
"Oh, I'm sorry."
it's just, gosh, it's,
But
she's beautiful.
a
I
lot of
mean,
people like it because the light and dark.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I put that one called "Say Hello to the Angels," which is a song I like. And then, I just I didn't want to sell it. I've had people offer to buy it. I don't want to sell it.
You
So
won't sell it.
let
It'll
me,
cost you a lot.
just for giggles,
Yeah.
we're playing around here. If somebody wanted to buy this,
Mm-hmm.
trying to get you some money here. So, how would you price this so you don't think anybody would buy it?
Okay. Well, yeah, my friend the other day, I was doing a tattoo. I have it hanging in my studio.
Okay.
And he says, "Oh, how much for that one?" I said, "Well, and he's my friend." I
Yeah.
said 800 because I don't want to sell it.
It's not 800. What
Yeah.
size is it?
It's about like this, but it's so beautiful, and I like to look at it because I have it on a dark wall.
That's
and
a
it just-
$25,000 painting.
Wow.
It is,
No, I have art
in
friends.
my opinion. Now,
that- it up.
some art critic is going to say, no, it's not. It's a $2,500 painting, a $25,000 painting.
Yeah, and people,
I think
I've had
he knows better than me.
connoisseurs say the more you price it, the more they respect it.
It's true.
It's
It is
very true.
It's what you value things. Is
Uh-huh.
what people will.
Yeah, I would have. Let's see.
Yeah.
If somebody asks a picture that I really, really love, and I have a few of those in my house, and somebody said I would really want to buy that, I would think of, okay, what do I need for a down payment
Yeah.
on something, and I just name it, and it is I don't mean for this to become mercenary.
Yeah.
I don't mean that at all. This is a lovely painting. I can understand why you don't want to sell it. It is just
Stunning. I know. When I was in the antique business, I fell into the same trap. I'm like, I like this. I'm not going to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
It got problematic after a while because
Yeah.
I wanted to keep everything. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Because you like, and that being said about price and art
yeah.
and creativity,
it's the worst thing for an artist to price their own stuff.
and it's so ironic because art is priceless
Priceless.
and it's still useless.
Huh?
It doesn't.
It's
It's
useless.
useless. It doesn't have. It can't do anything for you, but it adds value.
Except bring you joy.
It's beauty.
Yeah.
So you have these. What is art?
Yeah. It's actually easier for me just to give something away than for me to accept money for it. I will
That's
accept money, but
Yeah. That's a dilemma for you guys.
there's a
isn't it?
limit, and it's a great joy for me to have somebody own my work
Yeah.
and appreciate
Yeah,
the ownership of it.
and most artists aren't businessmen.
Yeah.
We're
Horrible.
Yeah, you guys are horrible at it, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
or salesmen.
That's why I
We
have my
just-
friend Josh,
Yeah.
and we have
Well,
Yeah.
okay.
all right, let's go to the next
Yeah,
one.
we have another angel, I believe, and
Oh, yeah.
this is one of my favorite. This is so classic. Look to
Yeah,
me.
that was that's my favorite piece. It goes down and it does have a building that is built in a Turkish style, and
Yeah, I
it's-
see it right in the corner
yeah.
there.
In
Yeah.
Spain, there's a lot of buildings that were mosques and now turned churches.
Have you traveled to Spain?
Uh-huh. And so they have two uses, and I liked that aesthetic. And then also there was the three. So this was dedicated towards faith, on the fruits of the spirit, and I called it. It's my only. I want to do all of them, but I only did three, and
Yeah.
I called it Circa Divina, and it's
What's it called?
Circa Divina, like closer to God.
Oh,
And so there's three, you can't say the whole thing, but there's three birds. And you can't say the whole thing only because that is just a close up of it. And I took quite a while to paint that, over a year. And
Wow.
it was a great
so
experience.
I know the question that everybody's asking. So, and I already know the answer to this, but I think everybody want to know, who is your teacher?
Oh, I'm self-taught, and that was like my third oil painting. And oil
Okay.
painting's challenging, but it's so fun.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
incredible, just absolutely
So
incredible.
this is just
Yeah.
You have to wear gloves because of the chemicals,
Uh-huh.
and I'm sure I didn't do the process quite right, because there's there is a process to layering it.
Yeah.
But I did a I've learned a lot. And then it turned out okay. I mean, I love it.
Turned out okay.
I've had people say
Turned
it's
out
my
okay, Josh.
favorite painting.
wow.
And
Yeah,
I've
that's
had people say like she's not a nude. She's
Oh.
yeah. How
and
big is she? How big is the piece?
it's huge. It's 4 feet by 3 feet on masonite, and I
Yeah,
was
that's a 5 figure.
I was inspired by like a piece of work that Professor Poplin took me to see at the in Pasadena. There's a museum
The Norton
with a
Simon.
garden in the Norton Simon,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
had kind of, to me, it's like the fabric breaks into something else,
Mm-hmm.
and then the angel is not necessarily too feminine, and her hair's kind of fiery,
Yeah.
and her
I love her.
wings aren't. I don't know. It's just like
Really, really,
Random,
it's
but-
And
really
that's
good.
faith for you.
yeah, that was the faith that her eyes are closed. She's like
Okay,
she's
beautiful.
you got the three birds, the Trinity, and
Mm.
like a light background. So
beautiful.
that's my favorite.
It's
painting.
really it's really lovely. These next series of paintings are ones that I kind of asked Eden to do because I invited her to be a part of our Stations of the Cross that we have at our church every year, and this was about I would say perhaps 7 to 6 years ago.
Oh wow.
And I think this first one was more recent. And this is, Eden received the station of Jesus is given the crown of thorns to wear. And this is her rendering of it. And it is all graphite and colored pencil. Is that correct?
Yeah.
No paint?
No, I don't think
No,
so.
it's completely drawing. Now she may say that this is not one of her favorite works. I actually liked it. I liked it enough to have the original hanging in my office because she never came up to pick it up after the
Stole
station.
it, huh?
So I was blessed to have it hanging in my office, and I absolutely love it for so many reasons. But Josh, I'd love to hear your comments first before.
Well, it reminds me of some of those old paintings of Jesus where they put the scarf over his face. I forgot what they call it.
The shroud.
The shrouds.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it reminds me of that. And I just want to know what the flower is behind him. So I don't know if you even have an explanation for that or not.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Maybe my thought would have been like the halo, but I honestly can't say, because I think I created this piece just for the Stations of the Cross, and I don't believe I took much time to do it. So I probably just wanted to do something nice looking, but looks in pain.
Yep.
Dried up, and his mouth looks dry. And
Yeah. Well, the thing I love about it is, and it just sort of informs who you are, is you are never ever far away from the classics,
Right.
from a classic feel, down to, I mean, you still have that softness in that, but also the thing I loved about it is you gave him a classic beard in terms of the split, the forked beard, it kind of Hellenistic
Yeah, sure.
looking a little bit, and I just love it, and I so appreciated you lending your talent to Stations of the Cross, and I love this.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you're welcome to keep the peace. I,
He's like,
Okay.
he's like, okay.
Somebody will keep it.
Are you
So-
guys doing Stations of the Cross this year?
Yes, we are.
Oh, we need to talk later.
Yes,
Yeah.
we are.
Okay.
I have ideas.
All right.
Okay, anyway. Now, this is one I want to spend some time on, and we have a couple of renderings of it. And she chose the Peter Denies Jesus.
All right. So for those of you that are listening and not watching, it's a really cool big giant rooster in the foreground. Looks
Kind
like
of occupying the right-hand half
Yeah.
of the screen, of the canvas.
And then a hen by him. It looks very
Couple.
French to me.
Yes. Yes.
And in the background under a archway is our crying Peter.
Yeah.
So, Eden, tell us about what God was telling you in this painting.
okay, so I don't know if I was assigned that or got to choose that, but I liked the
No, you chose it.
idea. Okay.
I gave you a list, and you said you wanted that.
Okay, the denial of Peter. And so I wanted to make the rooster almost look violent, like so striking and
Because it's chiming in the morning.
right, and it was when he realized that not only he denied Christ a third time, I think it was,
Yeah.
but it, and so everything else is kind of in the background, and in the foreground is the rooster because was when he probably realized that
Yeah.
Jesus was right and he had denied him 3 times and he felt
Yeah.
you
But
know.
it's really to me, I have just loved this, and I'm fascinated by it. Of course the rooster is like saying wake up. It's like, but and then you're very subtle. You're very subtle with Peter in the background.
Yeah.
You're very subtle with him, and I have rendered this station, I think twice, and so different. And that's what I love about stations, is because you never know what artist is going to take the vision. So I love Peter, and I love that it's real simple. But that's not my favorite part of the painting, and the rooster is not my favorite part of the painting.
You like the hen?
My favorite part of the painting is the hens, and what they're doing is they could care less about what's behind them. They're just going on with their day,
Yeah.
and they're just pecking away at the ground. This horrible thing is happening,
And they're oblivious to
and
it.
they're oblivious,
Yeah.
and they're just saying, and it's just a normal day for me. And how many times do we go and celebrate in the Passion of Christ, or mindful of the Passion of Christ, and even Good Friday
Sure.
and Easter Sunday?
Yeah.
It's just another day.
It's hard to break out of that.
It's
You know,
hard to break out.
It's hard to pastor people
Yeah,
into the passion
yeah.
because.
But you're calling attention to that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and I think you had said when I was dropped it off for the stations,
Yeah,
and you had said it's almost like life where all these things are going on.
mm-hmm.
You feel so ashamed because the shame that he was
The
having,
shame is there.
and then God is kind of saying like, life goes on. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so what? That's what you did.
Yeah,
But you still.
there, and the hens represent that grace. There's a new day, and life goes on, and Jesus will be crucified, and life will go on.
Yeah, and he forgives you.
He forgives you.
Yeah, you will go on, and I just love that, because I came that you may have life, and you may have it abundantly, and I love that, and that's, and you just sort of rendered those little hens, pick a little, talk a little, going on. Just love it.
Unintentionally, but I like your critique.
Well, I know it was unintentional, but I know it was God. And that's why I love this, that God was just directed your call. And the fact that everything is relatively muted. But man, that rooster,
Yeah,
right?
the color. It's like his head's on fire. I love it.
I
Yeah.
did a live video of the painting
Mm-hmm.
in like fast motion, so maybe I'll post that to the Instagram. It's
Wonderful.
old,
Yeah.
but that way maybe
Oh yeah,
the
this
viewers
is
can see it.
yeah, this is just and I think I need. Well, anyway, we'll talk later. But I just loved it, and I think we have a couple. This is how we displayed it in stations.
Oh yeah. So I love the frame which Joel created. That's just very smart, and it has. Okay, it's her painting on top of crinkled paper.
I think
To
Trader
frame it
Joe's
out.
bags. I think.
Is it Trader Joe's bags?
Yeah, Trader
Yeah,
Joe's
But it
That's
looks
great.
good.
Huh?
It looks good.
It does look good.
It brings it out.
It's got a very textured multimedia feel, or multimedia
Yeah.
feel to it. It's great. There they are.
And there it is.
Yeah,
That says us.
that's me without some coffee in the morning.
That's what?
That's me without coffee.
Oh, you're one of those
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
I'm in
gosh.
bad shape.
Me too. Me too. I mean, just I have a window of civility for about maybe 10, 15
Yeah.
minutes. I'll force myself to be sweet and nice.
Cool.
And then if I don't get my coffee, we're done.
Yeah.
So, so this is, I think this is what we have. And
Is that all of them?
so first of all, and I just before we leave Eden and then we go to the next thing that we want to do, I just want to say to you that you are a valuable voice, not only to the world of art, but you're a valuable voice to the kingdom of God with what you do.
Yeah.
There is a sense of you are able to create with power, like this rooster, and God is able to demonstrate through your painting His power, who He is, what He's able to do, but also His gentleness and His sweetness. And the way you create classic figures is to say that God is timeless.
Oh.
And that's the beauty of this.
Yeah.
So, anything you want to add to that
Well,
before you take us to the next?
I want to talk just a little bit about your faith journey because you mentioned Dr. Mary Poplin and how important she was
Yeah.
in your process.
Yeah. Yeah, I met her at work and having been extremely broken, and I could go into detail, but that would be another
Yeah.
hour or two.
That's all right.
But we, just extremely broken and having so much, so many chips on my shoulders from
Yeah.
a number of things. And so she was just kind of this person who was watching me and probably, like you said, what's the word? Starts with a D. Not
Discipled.
intuitive, but discerning.
Discerning.
And she was so discerning but caring, and she just kind of brought me to church, which, like I said, I was hesitant, but I did trust her because she did have such a kind of like a presence where she just seemed so much gosh, it's hard to explain, but intuitive, and so that made me trust in her. And then she was also extremely honest about her flaws, and then I liked that a lot because she didn't say, hey, do you want to come to this place? She said, no, like she told me right off the bat, I was worse than you ever were. Who says that,
Right.
and if I were to share with her, she'd just really just, be able to open herself up to me in that. And I just think she was such a, I guess we all get a teacher, a
Yeah.
guide, if we ask God.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
we're supposed to do that with others. Once you heal from something,
Yeah.
you're able to step on and heal someone else in that way. So she was that person for me, and brought me to the church and taught me a lot about art too,
Yeah.
angels, and guided me what is the true nature.
The
And oh, sorry, Joel,
Mm-hmm.
No, go ahead.
okay, so we're talking about you being an artist, but there was an art to her faith in reaching you, in bringing you back or bringing you to the Lord, and only she could do it, probably.
Yeah,
And,
probably.
and I think that's just how divine appointments
Yeah.
work, because she happened to come to the restaurant that you're serving in the morning, and there you are, and she sits in the same place, and she gets you,
Yeah.
Yeah, it sees me every morning.
sees you every morning, and she's able to pour into you and you into her. One thing about what you just related into the story, which I think is, I think a great lesson for all of us that I learned, is Mary touched your heart because she shared her brokenness with you. And brokenness often ministers better than righteousness does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And I
agree.
think that's lovely. And I hope that all of us in a church can get that when we're called upon God in these divine appointments to minister to someone. Nobody's going to be impressed with how many times you go to church or how many
Yeah.
Bible verses
No.
you have memorized.
But it is an art to reach people.
It
And it
is.
is art to tap into the leadings of the Holy Spirit. It's not a formula, right?
No, there's
there's no
absolutely no
curriculum to
formula.
this. There's no this is the way that you do it. And one of the things that we want to do in this podcast is to show people that their walk and the way that God's uniquely created them is precious.
Yes.
And it's not a cookie cutter faith. I mean, we have our absolutes, we have our deal breakers, and the person and the deity of Jesus. But the way that we get there and the way that we meet God is differently, and we need to be open to the creative ways that God speaks to us. And I obviously think that He can do it through art. So, can you one more question before
Sure.
we do our little thing? How does God get you to be creative? What's your creative process?
Okay, well, I really love the words of Jesus, who was obviously brilliant, rebellious, somebody like just, and he says, "Don't worry," and mind your thoughts. So
Yeah.
when he's telling you to put your worries aside, don't think about the day ahead, the day behind. You have the worries at hand. All those things teach you to be present. And the class that I went to with Scott Sanders, who hopefully you could have on the podcast one day, he also brought to mind that to have the eyes of a child. And the eyes of a child is kind of believing, and everything's new. Everything's like something new, and creativity is, it's something like really free, and so in that freedom of creativity, you kind of want to release some of your burdens before you create, and you would just come to like some sort of peace. And then everybody's different, but you know maybe like some sort of ritual like
Yeah.
whether I like to have music or a nice space, and give myself a nice platform to create, and um, go from there.
One of the things that you shared with us earlier that and especially in regards to being a tattoo artist, and is that I think it's assuming because of your faith, you won't do you won't do dark
Yeah.
tattoos on you. You'll say there are plenty of people around who can do that,
Yeah.
and that you won't do that. And you know, because tattoos, especially in relationship to Christians, is
Taboo,
Taboo.
at
is a
times.
kind of sometimes
Yeah.
taboo. I thankfully it's falling away, and not where my mom is concerned, but but so I take it because you are a tattoo artist that you've set some boundaries for yourself in doing tattoos.
Yeah. Even in life, like I used to like when I was a kid watching horror movies.
You used to like watching horror movies?
And I hate it now. I don't like to even give myself that
Yeah.
perception. And like going back to Mary, she told me like watch what goes in your eyes and your ears, like because it you can never take it out. I don't want to look at those things, and I don't want to add to that.
Yeah.
Even monetarily, I don't want to add to horror
Interesting.
and evil. And there is
You don't
evil.
wanna make that
Evil's
compromise.
Real, right? And once you've had
Wait a minute. Evil's real?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, once you've had a bad experience, you stay away from it. I
Yeah.
respect it, and if there was somebody who is
Yeah.
a Satan worshiper, I'm open to a dialogue. I would never try to convert them, but I respect them because they also believe.
So
in,
you wouldn't put demonic imagery on somebody?
no, but
Okay.
I would talk to them because
Good for
they're
you.
believers too. They believe in something.
Yeah.
And so, but I just don't want it doesn't I don't want to I don't need to understand it, and I'm knowledgeable and understanding of all religions,
Yeah.
and I totally respect them all,
So
but I wouldn't want to do something dark.
yeah, that's great, and I'm glad to, I'm glad to hear that, and it's sometimes the artistic world can be a boundaryless world, and sometimes we just sort of say, well, it's just art, and we can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
But I in your story, I just appreciated that you set up yourself some standards that are godly standards, and you're not condemning them for you're still open to them as a person.
Oh yeah, of course. Just
I just no, I'm not
I
doing it.
respect the standard too, and the taboo part about Christians getting tattoos is there's a verse in Deuteronomy, and they're like, oh, there you go, you can't get tattoos, but the actual definition of the verse is don't mark your bodies for the dead. That's the literal translation, and that's what you're doing when you don't want to put, a skeleton or a devil on somebody's body, because that's marking their body for the dead with something evil.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it doesn't actually say don't get a tattoo. It says don't mark your bodies for the dead.
For the dead.
Yeah, as a sacred part of worship.
Yeah, so there's a difference.
I see.
There is.
And they're also, shaving their heads for ritual purposes too.
And-
So anyway, so it's all. So, I think what you're doing is amazing, and I was thinking earlier about your expression in the city of Claremont, and Joel's too.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking at your work, and we're like, Joel's like putting numbers and prices on it, and I could easily do the same. And the reality is, if you were showing in Laguna Beach, you'd probably be making a lot more money.
Yeah.
But I think that what you guys are doing here, and specifically as faith-based artists, not people that are doing Christian art, but faith-based artists, I think if you guys continue to beat this drum, Claremont can be a Laguna Beach
I will
art
receive
center.
that. We can receive that.
Yeah.
I was, while we were on a little break,
Yeah.
when we were on a little break, I was sharing with Eden about my nephew, who we hope to have on the podcast with us soon. My nephew received a prophetic word from the Lord regarding his own art and his success in it. And the word he got from the Lord is, let me bring this to you.
Yeah.
Let me bring it. And I think for those of us who love art and love him, that's all. That's where we start,
Yeah.
and maybe that's where we end, and the rest comes. I'm sure, and I hope what happens is when people look at this and they see you and they see your art, they'll reach out to you,
I hope so
and
too.
their life will, and because your art is a blessing.
Yeah, I hope so too. I wish I was more strategic or business like to go over those things. But that being said, if you, I'm crazy about studying on the afterlife, near death experiences,
Yeah.
and most of them, every walk of life, every faith, uh, the the God or their feeling of God asks them, well, what are you doing for mankind? Not where are you making your money? How successful have you got?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And when you're,
What are you doing to be a blessing?
yeah, to others and your daily life. So I don't really think, you can die and have made millions of dollars off of art,
Yeah.
and it would be nice to be a successful artist, but if you really love art, you're going to do it regardless.
That's awesome. Well, just like in the study of revival or outpourings of the Spirit or moves of God, they're all marked by creativity. It almost even precedes it. Whether it is in music, whether there's some fresh new music that comes out that sparks a movement of God or revival. Amy Semple McPherson used drama, and she used visual arts too. She used props. I mean, the amount of creativity that took place, either preceding a revival or during a revival, is you cannot deny it. And usually, those are the things that we don't talk about.
Yeah.
When we talk about revival, we talk about people coming up to the altar and crying, and which is all great things, right? But we never talk about the great art that was birthed in those moments.
And the same thing happening whenever there's a great movement in the church.
Yeah.
Yeah. God just busting it out. These beautiful works.
So I would say to you guys, keep on cranking out your work. I mean,
We'll do it.
Just be inspired by the Holy Spirit and just see what God can do. And I do believe that Claremont can be an art center, an art market. And it's something that you guys can pioneer. I mean, like I can see Los Angeles coming to Claremont to buy art. I mean, they kind of do, but
That's awesome.
I mean, they kind of do, but they kind of don't. They don't. I think that the enemy is won in the area of suppressing creativity. I know we're kind of known as a creative town, but there's no passion to create like it once was.
And so the prayer for both Eden and I and creators is that God would pour a double portion
Yeah.
of His passion upon us.
Yeah.
And that He would break down the barriers that keep us from that passion. Because I know what they are for me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Me too.
So you said you're fascinated by near-death experiences.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a prize for you, a present, and it's in my bag actually. So I had no idea, but I just happened to have this book in my bag,
Oh, cool.
and it's called The Day I Died.
Oh, thank you.
And the man that wrote this book, the man that died and came back to life, he goes to our church, and Janie Sjogren, his wife,
Yes.
is on staff with us.
Oh, wow.
And they were pastors
Okay.
in Cincinnati, and he had a typical routine surgery, like a gallbladder surgery, and they messed up, and he died on the table. And so the story's in the book. My dad was pastoring in Ontario, and he finds out that his friend Steve Sjogren is dying in the hospital. So he gets on a plane. Some of the elders in the church bought him a plane ticket to go out there and minister and pray for his sick friend in the hospital. By the time he gets there, it's like really bad. And here's the fun part. He goes into the hospital, and he is like, "What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be on this floor." Kind of a conversation. He's like, "Well, I'm here to pray for Steve Sjogren," and an African American gentleman that was albino, that had freckles, led him through a couple of corridors to Steve's room. And then my dad begins to pray for him, and Steve's dead. And so Steve writes about it in the book. He is up in the ceiling, looking down at his body. So he has that moment where he's outside of his body, looking at himself, and hearing my dad pray for him. And then my dad rebukes the death that's in his body. And he said he could feel his spirit slam back into his body like a car wreck.
Wow.
And then my dad leaves. And then he gets in trouble for being in this corridor. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Well, this guy brought me here." It's like, "What guy? What did he look like?" Well, he was African American, and he was albino and had freckles and scars, and like, there's nobody in this hospital that looks like this. So what do you get out of here? You know.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, since you're interested in that, there's the book, and Steve lives in Claremont, and he would take you out to coffee and talk
Oh yeah,
about it all day long.
I love this topic.
Yeah.
I've learned so much, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we have another little prize for you. Joel, why don't you go first?
Yes. Part of the format of what we do, and we've been doing this from the very beginning, is especially when we have a guest, because Josh and I operate in spiritual gifting, and we operate in the things of the Spirit, and what we want to do is we want to present to you a prophetic word.
Okay.
A visual prophetic word from the Lord. And he did this for me. And
I made him cry.
Made me cry. He prayed about it, and he picked a beautiful piece by the Van Eyck, an altar piece, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. And then a couple of weeks ago, I got to present him with a Rembrandt of Jesus's face, Jesus's head, and the prophetic words that went to it. So what we have done, and we did it. We got to have lunch with Edan today at noon, and then between lunch and back, we both got our prophetic words. And so I'm going and doing my errand, and I'm praying, "What do you have for Edan?" And this piece by Salvador Dali.
Wow. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Salvador Dali. And I was thinking about all kinds of things, and I was sorting it out, and I finally just said, "Lord, you need to show me what it is you have for Edan." And I went to the Salvador Dali Museum in Tampa, Florida, and fell in love with him all over again.
Yeah.
He's a surrealist. The prophetic word is now notice notice the woman adoring him.
Mm-hmm.
And he is presented in a surrealistic fashion on a stylized cross.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, this is it. Edan, thank you for always adoring me. In no matter what fashion you see me. And at times you feel surreal, but you will never be more surreal than I cannot reach you. And I cannot touch you. And if you see me in a surreal fashion, you still see me.
Mm-hmm.
That's his word.
Oh, thank you.
I have one too. That one's pretty good.
Yeah. Thank you. I really
Okay.
get that.
So this one's Delacroix, French painter. This one's a little risky. I took a chance on this one because this is Liberty Leading the People. And it's risky for those that are listening and not watching because this is the classic French painting of the French Revolution, and Lady Liberty is, well,
Exposed.
her top's coming down. So I'm sorry for offending anybody. I probably should have censored it. But anyway, I just see this as you, as
Clothed.
clothed, of course.
Yeah.
But leading, like, I know that your demeanor is sweet, but you're so powerful, and
Yes.
your experience is a testimony that everybody needs to hear. And I see you, and you might not see yourself, but I see you, and I believe the Lord sees you as a leader, as a leader in this area of the arts, as a leader of people that Joel and I can't reach. So we can't even reach church people these days.
Yeah, and
So
I'm never putting any art on anybody's skin. So
yeah, but you can reach people we can't.
yes, you can.
And your heart for the Lord, and what Joel just showed, the adoration that you have for Jesus is so powerful. So I see you as a leader of people, and a leader of lost, hurting, broken people.
I love this.
You have an incredible ministry.
Well, thank you.
So I can't wait to see what God does in your
And
life.
God will bring it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He will bring it to you.
Yeah. Thank you guys, because I really like those messages.
Did these speak to you?
Yeah.
Do you
Well,
receive that word from the Lord?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Like more than you know.
Okay.
Yay.
And
You're
that's
going to lead people into freedom.
I,
You can
you
lead them
know,
into liberty.
it's I'm humbled.
yeah.
Maybe not.
Well,
you
you
know,
will.
you don't-
You will, and you'll do it your way.
Yeah.
And some people will look and see. Some people are thrown by the surreal aspect of Jesus
Yeah.
that are rendered,
Supernatural. Yeah.
but you're fine.
Yeah, we all have a place.
We do. We do.
Eden, is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we might have missed?
No, I'm pleased, and I thank you guys so much.
Well, you're so welcome. Thank you for being with us today.
Yeah.
We found ourselves, like we do every Friday, we found
Yes.
ourselves kind of giddy and excited
Yeah, I was too.
about meeting you and doing this together, because this is, we love the Lord, we love art, and we love people.
Yeah.
And we love people who do art.
Amen.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening and watching. And follow Eden on her Instagram. Spell it one more time.
EDANCURTISART. Eden. Oh, ARTS.
Yeah.
Eden Curtis Arts.
Eden Curtis Arts. And if you need to get a tattoo, she's your gal.
She's your gal. Hey, and I just want to say that I am so impressed with the team at
Yes.
Yes.
Granite Creek Studios. I don't know anything about anything, and Joel and Luke.
Yeah.
Are
So we
with
have a
us.
young Joel and we have an old Joel.
We have old Joel, we have young Joel, and we have Luke. And you guys do a great job, and
Yep.
worry free, and thank you for it from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome.
Josh gets you all the time.
See you next time. Thanks for listening.